Hello and welcome. Today we are in the new Tier 8 Japanese aviation heavy cruiser, the Tonna. She was given to me by Wargaming. As I understand it, she will be available in the premium shop and for doubloons. Later on in the video I'll also show the Tonna in port and go over some of her stats. But the first thing that will stand out on an aviation heavy cruiser is obviously the aviation part. She can launch 4 torpedo bombers just like the Ise. You can fly around with them and then spot stuff and then potentially drop. Obviously the main strength of it is really the spotting rather than the drops. These drops are very similar to the Ise. The planes actually have slightly less HP than Ise planes do, but they are faster. Not by too much, but faster is still faster. The torpedoes deal exactly the same amount of damage, which means that high-tier battleships probably won't care about these drops. After all, 2700 damage per torpedo isn't exactly a lot. Subtract the damage that's lost to the torp belt as well, and it might actually just feel like a scratch. But other than the aviation capabilities, this ship would probably be most comparable to Atago or 203 Mogami. Because she is a Japanese heavy cruiser and basically has the same characteristics. She doesn't have Atago's 41mm deck armor, but it's 27, which is pretty good against 380 or smaller caliber guns. She also doesn't have problems firing behind her like the Ise does, which is a major boon. Oh, and she actually has 5 heals. That's one more than the Atago. Anyway, I'm gonna go try to find that destroyer in the beak cap. Because there obviously was a destroyer in the beak cap, so I should go try to find it. I'm gonna tell my teammates as well, because I'm gonna find the DD and then drop on her. If I can obviously find her. So the way I try to find the destroyer is, I pay attention to where my plane concealment is. It's 6.7 kilometers. If my planes get spotted, then I have some idea on where the destroyer can be. But so far I've had no luck, so I guess I'll just go for the Zara then, because I didn't find the DD. And I might just end up looking blindly for the destroyer for the next few minutes at least. And that might not be the best use of my time. Because again, I might even not find her, because I have no idea where she is. So I just dropped on the Zara and just continued shelling the Bayan. But if we're talking about the strengths of the Tonna, then I would say that other than the team play capabilities that the planes give her, her greatest strength is actually her concealment. Because if you look at the minimap, it's 8.8 kilometers. This, I think, might be the best concealed high-tier cruiser out of all of them. And I'm including the light cruisers here. 8.8 kilometers. That's... the number is so low that I still, even though I'm playing the ship, I still can't believe that it's this low. And also 5.8 kilometer air concealment. This ship actually has 5.8 kilometer anti-air range as well, so it's exactly equal. But the long range AA is pretty damn weak. The AA in general isn't much better than Atago's though, so it's not like Ise that just suddenly has amazing AA. This concealment though, it allows you to get away from all kinds of situations or to sneak up on someone, and it's pretty damn good, especially when you remember that the Japanese heavy cruisers are really fast. I mean, with a speed flag, the ship can go up to 37 knots. You can really support a destroyer quite well with this ship. All of that being said, I have had difficulty finding success with the ship. I don't know exactly why, but I suspect it's because of the way Japanese heavy cruisers are like in general. See, as a tier 8 ship, you end up in tier 10 games frequently. And, you know, tier 8 to 9 games as well. And from my experience at least, it might also be confirmation bias, but I think the gameplay has kind of moved to longer ranges, at least longer safe ranges. Maybe it's just the ships I've been playing, you know, Petropavlovsks, Rigas, etc. They have no problem fighting at longer ranges. Or at least being safe when they go close. But that's not really the case for this ship. I mean, you only have 15.7 kilometer range. But honestly, it's not really the range that's the problem, it's the shell speed. When I actually looked at the numbers, and this is for actually all of the Japanese heavy cruisers other than Zao, so Myoko, Mogami, Ibuki, the shells actually have the same speed, effectively, as the American shells. So the American heavy cruisers. And those shells are considered pretty floaty, right? So these are the same thing. And while they might have better dispersion from what I understand, it's still quite difficult to land heavy shots. And, well, as I've noticed, I get a lot of non-penetrations on battleships for some reason. I mean, if I aim like this, obviously, because some of the shells are gonna hit the main belt, but still, I have noticed a lot of failures to penetrate. And that has been quite disappointing. I just haven't had much success in her. And again, the numbers all look great on the ship, and I don't quite understand how it came to be, but I just seem to never have amazing games like I do in basically everything else that I play. I play a few games in them, I have one or two at least great games. In this ship though, I've played a dozen, and it just somehow hasn't worked out. There have been some interesting games, and I suppose you could consider them pretty great. However, the numbers just aren't quite what I expected. Usually I can do better in my experience. And I mean, look at this. I fired at a Baltimore at 10 kilometers. I did 2,000 damage on that salvo. Pretty much every salvo I've fired so far has done 2,000 damage. Now, I'm gonna swap over to AP here because Baltimore is showing me side. And I might deal more damage. By the way, this was actually a nice salvo, 5k damage, but they're rare in my experience. And I understand, part of it is because she only has 8 guns, so it's understandable, but still. I kinda expect more. Anyway, I hit the map border, so it's time to use my amazing concealment. I'm gonna wait until I go unspotted and that my ship is pointed away from the map border, and then I'm gonna launch some of my planes to go strike probably the Alabama. It doesn't look good for our match though. It seems that our team kinda got obliterated. I mean, we only have 6 ships, they have, well, 8 now, still. That's a sizable advantage that they have. Okay, I am off the map border, so I can launch my planes. I find that the planes actually matter slightly less on this ship than they do on the ISA. I think the cooldown might actually be longer, but I haven't actually checked the numbers. I say that because I just find that enemies don't care as much about the planes. I mean, they have more HP and all of that. And the other point is that one thing you can do with the ISA is get enemies to show broadside by using the planes. Well, you can do the same with the Tona, but you don't get to take advantage of that all that much, right? It'll work against cruisers, but cruisers turn so quickly that it's unlikely you'll benefit too much from it. Okay, so it's just me over here now. I guess technically I have the Trenta with me. I think I can take the Baltimore, as long as I don't show her too much broadside. I should, and get close enough, I should probably be fine. The main worry I have is the Alabama. If she comes through that gap there, I'm dead. Oh no, she actually didn't. She decided to sail past. That's good. That means I'm still alive for quite a while. I also actually like the front guns on the ship. It makes it easier to judge the angles on them because they're all basically tightly together. Anyway, I'm gonna turn in to try to torp the Alabama that will come around the island, and this will also angle me against the Baltimore. Okay, that salvo hurt a little bit. It seems Baltimore is angling against me, so back to HE it is. I suppose one weakness compared to Atago is that the torpedoes are less usable at close range, because they're the standard IGA and torps that are... The angles aren't great on them, okay? But I mean, they cool down extremely quickly. You have fewer of them. So you have 3 per set, And I think that's actually why they cool down quicker. They only have like a 76-second reload, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, Baltimore showing sight, so good night. No, that actually didn't work. Let's try again. Good. Okay, let's not get stuck on this corpse, because Alabama's coming around the island. I have 1,150 HP. This is not good. Oh no, she's right there. Okay. Oh no. I was hoping maybe her guns were not pointed here, but nope, they are pointed here. Nope, nope. Oh yes, yes! The Baltimore's corpse blocked the shot. And oh, maybe we can cut line of sight before the next salvo is fired by the Alabama. It's possible. Come on, come on, come on, island, get in the way, get in the way. Yes, we're unspotted. Nice. This is extremely nice. I can't believe I survived that. Okay, let's drop both sets of torps and then launch the plane. Actually, that's a pretty bad synergy. Because when I drop with my plane, it'll make the Alabama try to avoid the torpedoes. I should have probably thought this through slightly better. I suppose this is the skill part, right? Where you can just learn to play better. Wait. Okay, yeah, that was a pretty awful drop, right? None of them hit. Oh well. Yeah, that was some wasted planes right there. By the way, my torpedoes are ready in 20 seconds. So, by the time the Alabama tries coming around the island again, I have my torpedoes again. Although, actually here I have to leave. Because if Alabama even gets a slight whiff of me, she'll hit really hard most likely. Come on, 2 seconds, torps, reload. Oh, I think they're gonna miss, because the Alabama's turning in. I should have waited slightly longer. Dang it. That is really unfortunate. Yeah, they're gonna... Oh, come on! That was so close. A sailor could have reached out his hand and touched the torpedo. Okay, that would actually require him to have very long hands. I wonder if he expects a second torp though. I'm gonna wait a little bit. Aim slightly better. Let's go. Come on, torpedo, please knock the Alabama out before she gets to fire. I'm gonna hit the bow with HE. 6K. Well, she actually did get to fire, but I somehow survived that salvo. But the next heal is in 1 minute, and I only have 1,396 HP. We do know roughly where the enemies are, and it's just me and the Trenta left. It's looking rough. But I mean, there's no CV match though, so I should be safe. So I'm just gonna go and try to go north slightly. Wait until my heal comes back as I reposition, and I don't know if I'm gonna even try to go for B. I suppose we have to. Wait, no. ESAB planes. No, there wasn't supposed to be no CV. Oh, god damn it. Now I'm spotted, and someone's gonna take a shot. It takes like 1 shell to actually kill me. Hell, even 1 torpedo will probably just kill me. Come on, we can avoid it, right? Those shells were really close. Okay, I'm gonna run into the island. Oh, I'm gonna avoid the torps. And because I ran aground, maybe it'll help me avoid the shells. Come on. Monarch fired HE shells. Because it was HE, wait, how did it knock out my turret? It didn't land anywhere near the turret. What the hell? Well, regardless, it didn't deal any damage, and now I get to heal. So I'm gonna be back up to, I don't know, 8k HP, 10k HP, something like that. Anyway, my plane's ready, so I'm gonna try to drop on the Veneto. And then after... Yeah, we're gonna drop on the Veneto. And then after that I'm gonna fire HE. Meanwhile, my ship will be simply sailing further and further away. Yeah, this looks pretty unwinnable. And I mean, okay, no, it doesn't look pretty unwinnable. This is literally unwinnable. detonations would have to be involved, multiple of them, for us to have any chance of winning this. And even then, it's only just a chance. Okay, we're gonna lead, at least try to. She gonna turn in? She kinda looked like she was gonna turn in. Yep, she is. And we're just gonna fire HE as a follow-up. Oh, actually, that did like 9k damage. Pretty good. And the salvo follow-up that had 1 penetration and 3 non-penetrations, of course. Oh, and we didn't actually sink. You heard the ricochet sound, right? That's because Veneto has 380mm caliber guns, and the side and deck armor of the ship is 27mm, which 380 cannot overmatch. That's one of the reasons why I don't like the Italian battleships, but in this case that was perfect. So, 110k damage, sank 2 ships, hit 14 torpedoes, kept the base 1.5 times. 1400 base XP on a loss is acceptable. Not the greatest, but acceptable. Wait. Oh, how about good first blood? I suppose that's why she's on the very bottom. But look, 1.6 million potential damage. That's literally battleship levels. And 62k damage actually taken is pretty good too. So my main problem is that I just seem to be unable to put out enough damage. Also, actually, 23k from the planes is not nothing. That's pretty acceptable considering I only did 47k with HE straight up. So, let's take a look at the Tonnerre in port. I am using flags and all of the things you would expect me to use. First, commander skills. I went with this build. I'm not entirely certain of it, but this is what I used. So grease the gears, priority target, superintendent obviously. Actually, this isn't as obvious anymore, because on the Tonnerre you already have 4 heals base. So having a 5th one, it's useful. I have used all of them before, but not entirely certain whether this is as necessary. Then concealment expert, adrenaline rush, and actually I would say RPF on the ship is extremely good because you have such great concealment, 8.8 kilometers. This is literally light cruiser level. No, forget light cruiser level. This is like a bat destroyer level concealment. You're one of the most concealed cruisers in the game, if not the most concealed. So having RPF to know where the DDs are is extremely important, especially because you have planes. You know, RPF tells you where the closest destroyer is, you launch your planes and you go spot them. And then top grade gunner, because I didn't really know what to go for. Like, truly, I don't know what you would go for on a ship like this. Maybe heavy... no, you could consider heavy AP shells or something along those lines. Overall though, I'm not entirely certain. I don't think Last Stand is at all a recommended skill on the ship. The amount of times I got my engine knocked out has been so incredibly low that I don't think it would ever really make sense on this ship. Upgrades wise, it's what you would expect. Concealment, propulsion. Then I use turret traverse, although it's 22.7 seconds with it. Maybe aiming systems would be fine. Because, you know, slightly better dispersion, maybe you hit a few more shells and therefore end up dealing more damage. Damage control, although actually no, you should use Hydro here of course if you can, but I didn't have at that time Hydro available when I was messing about with the ship, but you should put Hydro on, and then Maynard's modification 1. So, my opinion of the ship. She should be OP, and perhaps she is, I just am particularly bad at the ship. But the closest ship to compare her to would be the Mogami and the Atago. And well, she is just straight up superior to both of those. She has better concealment. She has 15% less firepower than the Atago, for example, but she has better concealment. She has more heals. So not only does Mogami have no heals, right? But Tonnerre has more heals than even Atago. Now, one other point where the Tonnerre falls a little short compared to Atago is the armor scheme. Atago has a 41mm deck armor, Tone has 27. But it's 27 on the sides, 27 on the deck. So you can pretty reliably fight 380mm caliber battleships because they'll just bounce on all of this armor. Sure, they'll go through your 25mm bow, of course, that's very much true. But this is the Citadel, okay? This is the Citadel. They'll go through here, and this below there is the Citadel. I mean, technically it's possible for AP shells to go through here and hit the Citadel. But it'll never reach that part, for example. And therefore, 380 guns have trouble against Tone that just charges them effectively. Or just maneuvers in general. But bigger guns than that, you know, North Carolinas and basically all the tier 10s, those go through the ship like paper. Although, I suppose you still might not get Citadel that often, it'll just mostly be penetration damage that adds up. Because if you look at the Citadel, this is really far back, and I would say it's probably slightly smaller than Atago's. I mean, we can take a look, right? I suppose it's about the same size. That's not that different. And the part where the guns are, it sits on the waterline, so you're not gonna Citadel that part all that often. So armor-wise, it's pretty good. Like, the armor scheme is pretty decent for a heavy cruiser. But you still have to watch out for ships like Rigas and Petropavlovsk and whatnot. But this concealment is crazy good. 8.8 surface detectability, 5.8 air detectability. I legitimately can't believe these numbers. Like, even though I'm playing with them, I genuinely cannot believe these numbers. Because these are just ridiculously good when it comes to concealment. You can do so many things. I mean, by the way, 5.8 kilometer air concealment. You have 5.8 kilometer air anti-air range. I mean, sure, you only have 3 flak bubbles and your continuous damage isn't actually that great long range, but 5.8 air conceal is really good for a cruiser. Like, seriously, this ship is insanely stealthy, and it has 5 heals. On top of the fact that it carries planes as well. These torpedo bombers actually have less HP than ESA torpedo bombers. But it's not that big of a deal. They're slightly faster, so it doesn't really matter that much. You can still do your drop. And she still gets higher. I don't know. Like, all of the things I look at the ship tell me that it should be really OP. Like, if Atago is a really good or a decent cruiser, then the ship should be OP. Because, sure, 15% less damage output, because you have, you know, only 8 guns versus Atago's 10. Sure, fine. But the fact that your armor scheme is still so good and your even better concealment than Atago should really make the difference. Sadly though, in my hands it just hasn't. I haven't had a single game. I've played more than a dozen games and I haven't had a single match where I went like, oh yeah, this was a great game for me. No, almost all of them kinda just fizzle out somehow. And I'm not sure what it is, but it just hasn't really worked out for me, sadly. But overall, when it comes to Japanese cruisers, tier by tier, if you exclude the super cruisers, this is gonna be the best one. I cannot think of any of the other heavy cruisers, or Japanese cruisers, that are tier by tier, that are the equivalents of this. She has more heals than the rest. She has relatively similar armor, she carries planes which allow you to spot DDs and all of these things. And these things alone make her already better. I mean, compare this to like a 203mm Mogami, right? Mogami doesn't even have a heal, let alone the fact that she doesn't even carry planes. Come on, this isn't even a real comparison, right? Yeah, so if you like Atago, you'll probably like this ship too. And if you like the other Japanese cruisers like Ibuki or Miyoko, you'll probably like this ship as well. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support. And I hope I'll see you guys next time.